Good morning. Good. So welcome to the second day of the second edition of Semicon India. I think after yesterday's tremendous inaugural session and the absolutely clear vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, it is increasingly becoming obvious, even to those who are very cynical about a year ago or a year and a half ago, that in just over a year, we have traveled a significant distance as a nation, as a community of people who are deeply invested in and emotionally, professionally in the semiconductor space. I think it's quite clear that we have traveled a significant distance. So in just over a year, I think, Semicon India is now a must-attend event in an annual calendar of all those in India and around the world involved in, interested in, and excited by the future of the semiconductor space. Semicon India as an event and conference is particularly important to India. As you are aware, most of you are aware, we have tried and failed repeatedly over the last 6-7 decades to make a breakthrough and to create a presence in the space. And that was true till our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji put his vision and his determination and his will to succeed in this frontier, cutting-edge area of technology, engineering, and science to work. So it is from that moment on in December 2021 that the collective desire of so many hundreds and thousands of people all around the world to see India as a presence in the semiconductor ecosystem become a growing reality. So let me share this with you about the progress that we have made, and that is certainly the reason that the organizing committee and the organizers have asked me to speak to you today. The progress that has been made in the last 15 months. A kind of a report card of the India Semiconductor Mission and our ambitions, the ambitions of the Indian semiconductor ecosystem. Much has happened, you are aware of these historic visits in these last 15 months, historic agreements, India and the US with this historic visit of our Prime Minister and his agreement with President Biden of the US, an historic agreement on critical and emerging technologies with the United States of America, an agreement between India and Japan, again in these areas, in many areas including semiconductors, and an agreement between India and the EU via the India-EU TTC, the Technology and Trade Council. So there is almost an alignment now of global interests, the global vision of the future of the semiconductor ecosystem, and India's own ambitions and capabilities. As you know, this whole journey of the India Semiconductor Mission started in December 2021, when the Honorable Prime Minister set aside 76,000 crores, $10 billion, to help fund, invest, catalyze the semiconductor ecosystem in India. I have been asked this question many times. How does this $10 billion square up with the other multi-billion dollars that are being offered by the US via the CHIPS Act, the EU via their EU CHIPS Act, Korea's recent announcement of a multi-billion dollar program, Japan? And my answer to all of you and to all of those who look at the $10 billion as a smaller number is this: that India brings to bear not just the $10 billion, but brings to bear a very broad set of other values to the table. Trusted partner, geography, market, talent, research partner, and if you do the algebra, the mathematics, and combine all of that and ascribe a value to it, I can assure you that it is many-fold the $10 billion that has been put as capital. So the value that India represents today is a significant value, like I said, cutting across a spectrum of attributes ranging from being a trusted partner, partner for talent, and also committed to attracting and creating investments in India across the ecosystem. Let me quickly give you a report card on some of the various areas of the ecosystem that have been put into motion, to being built, are being built, have been built. As you can well imagine, this is not a short-term program. The vision of our Prime Minister to build the semiconductor ecosystem is very future-oriented. It is a decadal vision. It is a vision that will span multiple years. And so therefore, to give you report cards on an annual basis is really to give you a perspective of the milestones that are being met as we go towards that end goal of creating a seriously viable and a significant presence in the global semiconductor value chains and ecosystem. Let me first tell you about future design and innovation. It's an extremely important part of our vision, our goals. It plays to our Prime Minister's very important expectation and from the tech space in general that design and innovation is an area that should showcase and must showcase the talent of our young Indians, and that in a lot of ways, as in the semiconductor space, design intensity and the impact of design impact the future of performance, that Indian startups and design in India in general should become a much more influential presence in the future of semiconductor and devices. So far, so to start with, $200 million or about 1,200, 1,400 crores have been set aside that the government is willing to invest, bootstrap, and help startups and companies build in the whole design and innovation space. So far, 7 startups have been approved for funding, and their products or devices or ICs range from AI to vector processors to image sensors and a broad spectrum of applications. This program is gaining slow and steady confidence. I think it was, in a lot of ways, a very new thing for startups to get into deep tech and to semiconductor design. And expectedly, we haven't reached the critical mass in terms of numbers of people to apply for this program, but certainly I can see from the over 35 startups that have applied for this program that there is an increase in the momentum and increase in awareness and confidence amongst our young startups to participate in this. The program, we are envisaging that this program will now expand to include larger companies as well, both foreign and Indian, that intend to get into the semiconductor design space. We are even willing to look at suggestions that are being made where big foreign fabless companies can design in India and have the intellectual property owned or co-owned in India, either in partnership with startups in India or on their own, and be qualified for financing support under the Future Design DLI scheme of the India Semiconductor Mission. It is certainly an exciting area because a lot of our government programs or our initiatives or our ambitions, design and innovation of chips is at the intersection of it. We have programs and ambitions in high-performance computing, quantum computing that the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned yesterday. In 2 months' time, we will be having a global India AI Summit. We have ambitions in the electronic space. and goals in the electronic space. If you look at the various areas of the tech economy and the digital economy that the government is focusing on and growing, investing in, catalyzing, ranging from high-performance computing to electronics to AI, chips, products, devices are all lying at the intersection, all the applications and services that are going to be used and developed as a consequence of this. The focus on products and systems in compute, mobility, automotive and IoT industrial is again an area that that focus again plays to more and more of semiconductor design and devices that will be required and creates an opportunity for many, many startups and companies to do the same. Under this future design and the design innovation ecosystem and our initiatives there, we are almost all into RISC-V. We have launched a Digital India RISC-V program, and a whole large number of startups and incubation centers built around academic institutions like IIT Chennai are focusing on the future of RISC-V, future of devices in the RISC-V space, and which is branded DIR-5 for the Indian equivalent of it. And we see that as being very critical and strategic in the overall scheme of things that we are doing as well. Apart from the investment side for the future design, startups and future design companies, we are also putting into place policies on the demand side, allowing market aggregation, creating policies like PLI that will incentivize those who build platforms, build products to use domestically designed in India, made in India chips. So there are built-in incentives in the market policies that we have like PLI that will increase the attractiveness for those who are designing for India and designing in India or making in India. So that is the future design progress that has been made in the last 15 months. Even if it is about patting ourselves on the back, I think we can safely say that we've made some significant progress in the last 15 months, almost going from U equals 0 with 0 speed to some velocity, and which will, of course, over the years get even more accelerated as we move forward. The second big milestone, or a second big achievement, if you want to call it that, or a second big deliverable that we have undertaken is the issue of talent, which we refer to as future skills, Semicon India future skills. And there has been an absolutely world-class curriculum that has been put together by a group of very hardworking members of the industry who have volunteered their time and effort, ranging from the biggest companies globally, and they have put together this curriculum. And as the Honorable Prime Minister himself mentioned yesterday in his speech, that over 300 universities and colleges, that program is being rolled out, that curriculum is being rolled out. And we expect, as a consequence of this, many, many masters, postgraduate students, many doctorate and postdoctoral students, as well as the pipeline of undergraduate engineers and certified diploma holders to significantly expand with significantly global standard skills over the next 2 to 3 years. In the same space of talent, we are also actively looking at creating a framework where students who are undertaking these higher degree programs, postgraduate or higher specialized undergraduate programs, are also able to spend time as interns as part of the on-the-job training programs with other strategic Fab partners that we are in the process of negotiating with, and that the government is open to funding. So it will be a comprehensive program. It is a comprehensive program of really building deployable global standard talent for companies. Just as you think of plug and play in terms of infrastructure, power, water, etc., we certainly want the next wave of talent from India being market deployable, industry deployable, project deployable, almost from the get-go, as they graduate, as they leave their educational institutions. The third point I want to talk about is research. Very important part of our strategy, very critical part of the strategy in terms of building capability and capacity in the country. As a placeholder, the institution that is being designed and built is called the India's Semiconductor Research Center. Don't fixate on the name, that name may change, but effectively, it will be an institution that is private-public partnership with a large number of partners in that institution that will be overseas academic institutions, Indian academic institutions, global semiconductor companies, Indian enterprises, and of course the government as the anchor partner in that. We expect again a group of hardworking partners to the India Semiconductor Mission from the industry have worked very hard. Industry and the academia have worked very hard to develop the design of that. And it's a very important beacon of our research ambitions, almost a pole in the ecosystem of research that we want to build, and is being built, and therefore the design of that institution is being very carefully done, and we expect, I think there is a conversation later in the day about semiconductor research in the day's program, and you will certainly get a glimpse of that. Yesterday I attended a session anchored by Professor Rao Tumala that showed the expanse of research that can be undertaken. And the broad model is that the ISRC would get the funding from the industry and from the government, and in turn own, oversee, partner with the academic network at large in India, the IITs, the IISCs, the private institutions, the private universities, the other universities, and create a vibrant ecosystem of research that spans not just innovation, but the entire gamut of science and engineering, the frontiers of science and engineering that today characterize semiconductor ecosystem. So that is the third thing I wanted to give you an update about. And you will see, I think, very shortly announcements from the government on the ISRC as it navigates, as the proposal navigates through the government system for approval. Last is manufacturing, Fabs and ATMP. You are already aware of this absolutely landmark decision, and what I hope is the first of many that will follow, the Micron decision to invest in Gujarat. It is a significant decision in that it has impact not just to validate India's credentials as an investment destination for a global brand, and that narrative apart, it also, in a sense, catalyzes the development of the supply chain for complex packaging, ATMP units, and down the road, fabrication units. On the Fabs, I know there's a lot of interest in this, and I hope the interest remains in the coming months and years as well. Our strategy on this in the early days has been a bit corrected. We are now more focused on the legacy nodes, more mature nodes. We think that is a better strategy of starting with less risky, more adaptable nodes, and then work our way up over the medium term to much more advanced nodes. So that is where we are focused, and we are today in discussions and engagements on 40 nanometer fabs, 28 nanometer fabs, compound fabs in gallium and silicon carbide. And I'm deeply hopeful that over the coming months we will be able to, and certainly before the next Semicon, we will be able to report back to you with progress in that front. I am tempted to tell you what our goals are for the coming years, but I will refrain. I didn't say it last year, but we did it quite well this year. So I think maybe that is the way to keep it. I will not lay out or predict what the goals for the coming year are, but I will certainly say that you should keep an eye out for another year of rapid progress, rapid advancement of and the growth of the Indian semiconductor ecosystem. There is an old advertisement that I used to encounter during my times in the cellular world, and it used to say, "The future is bright, and I'll paraphrase that ad, the future is bright, and I will add, the future is India. I think when you look at the progress of the last 15 months and you try and extrapolate what the future of the Indian semiconductor ecosystem will look like, I think the English version of what the Honorable Prime Minister said yesterday, yahi samay hai, sahi samay hai, this is the time, this is the right time, can also be added, can be bolted on with the future is bright and the future is the Indian semiconductor ecosystem. I will end by saying this, there have been many of you who have worked very hard with the government and the Indian Semiconductor Mission. Many of you who have been on the advisory board of the India Semiconductor Mission have given tremendous amount of your time and effort. I thank you for all of that effort. It has certainly helped make the progress that we have made in the last 15 months. For all those in the semiconductor community who have helped, contributed to creating the blueprint for talent, creating the blueprint for the design innovation, the future design scheme, the future skills scheme, the research, ISRC design. Again, my deep-felt gratitude and thanks for all your effort, all your voluntary effort, and for your time and contribution of ideas. I will end by simply saying and restating what I consider a good way to describe our goals and ambitions in the government of India and in terms of what the Prime Minister's vision really means. And I use this phrase to sometimes simplify what really our ambition is. We intend in India to build in the next 10 years, with the amount of capital that our Prime Minister has given us, a robust, vibrant, globally competitive presence in the global semiconductor ecosystem. And we certainly want to do what countries to the north of us took $200 billion in 25 years and could not succeed. I am absolutely confident, after seeing what the Semicon India first edition was and seeing the second edition today, that we are on course to achieve those goals and ambitions, and those goals and ambitions will certainly become center to this vision of New India that our Prime Minister is laying out in front of all India.